Now, religious leaders in Sebokeng say government can't close churches. They say the church plays an important role in the community. At the weekend, police firing rubber bullets to disperse church gatherings, which were in contravention of lockdown regulations. I want to follow up on that story as we talk to eNCA reporter Masego Rahlaga. So one of the pastors, Masego, good afternoon to you, was arrested at the gathering at the weekend. I understand that you've had an opportunity to talk to him. Masego Rahlaga, are you with us?
Well, Jeremy, earlier on, the crowd, actually, the congregants could not contain themselves, and they couldn't contain themselves and showed some excitement when they saw their church leader, Apostle, come out of the court here in Sebokeng, the Sebokeng Magistrates Court. They started singing church songs and celebrating his release from the court. The case was dismissed, so he won't have to report again to the court. But right now, Jeremy, we are at God's Powers Ministries, which is where the apostle actually, this is the church that the apostle runs. It's the same church where we saw those scenes yesterday of police firing rubber bullets and tear gas at the crowd to disperse them yesterday. They were the police, or rather the ministers and the apostles and pastors were meeting outside. They say it was to discuss some of the issues that they face since they are not allowed to reopen their churches after President Cyril Ramaphosa announced that the country would be moving to alert level 3 again of the lockdown. But of course, he did speak to us once he was released, Jeremy, and essentially what he said was that although he's disappointed with what happened yesterday, he did understand that the police were executing their duties. Here is Apostle Khatebe.
The difficulty is this: when directives are made in platforms that are far from us. We only needed a platform for our own leadership to hear the pain of the directives. Other than that, there's nothing that I can say. But I really want to say this. As the church, we don't rebel against the government because the Bible itself urges us to submit to them. So police had to do their work. They are the law enforcers. They were given the mandate to do that, and they just did that. Now, I'm only happy if our cry is being heard by our own government, that they cannot shut down the church. If they have to, proper consultations to be done, because some of the people leave from the church. I, for one, when I'm here, I was devastated yesterday thinking about the people that actually receive support from the offerings that I receive from the church. So now if the church is shut down, no offering, no help from the government, you understand? And when you go to the shops, you have to buy stuff. So that was actually, so we wanted our own leadership to understand that, please, our own government, when you do these things, this is how we are being. We understand that there is a pandemic in the country. And I believe as a church we have done our best to observe the COVID protocols.
So, Masego Rahlaga, that's John Khatebe, and I understand now that you have another representative of the church with you.
Well, Jeremy, remember one of the arguments by the church yesterday when they gathered here, and it was in fact not only Apostle Khatebe's church, it was many other churches around the Sebokeng area as well as areas such as Sasolburg that met yesterday to discuss some of the challenges they face as pastors and their congregations since they've been stopped from being able to praise and worship. So they're saying that they were not consulted by government. They're saying that the government is not consulting everyone in the religious sector, and they found that to be unfair. So with me, I have the president of the South African National Christian Forum, Bishop Mashashani. He's here with us. Thank you very much for your time here on eNCA, Bishop. Now, as you heard me saying to my colleague Jeremy, your argument is that the government didn't consult with everyone. Did they consult, rather, with your organization at all?
Thank you for having me. The government is not consulting us. We always see it as an announcement, and that it's really inconveniencing us as a church, because we also experience that the government is not taking the church very serious, because other structures are consulted before the decision is made. But when coming to the Christian sector, we are not consulted at all.
Now, the president did say that, and he did announce even yesterday, that he'll be meeting with religious leaders, traditional leaders as well, and he's met with them before. So are you saying that you want him to consult with more religious leaders than the ones that he's been consulting with right now, such as the South African Council of Churches?
Our council or our forum, it is much of protecting the small churches and the medium churches. But when you look at SACC, it is much of the mega churches. And the people that are actually dealing with the day-to-day situation of the life of the people are the small churches which are excluded and not consulted at all. So it is for that reason that we have been engaging and even writing to the Minister, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, that we really need to be consulted, to be engaged on whatever affects the church. We've got 82% citizen as Christians in South Africa, and therefore we are the majority actually. But that 82% is taken advantage and not consulted, not included in the government arrangement. We are not against the saving of lives, but we see that government not consulting the Christian sector, it's also not consistent. How can the government say the church cannot gather because of the corona, but a casino, because it's a business, can gather? It doesn't really make sense, because corona does not look at the mission why you are gathering. If we are saying gathering, it's prohibited. It needs to be applied irrespective of whether the church is a business or the casino. So the government is really not practicing consistency.
Now, what do you say to what happened yesterday with, the regulations here, under this level 3, this adjusted level 3, saying that we shouldn't gather whether it's outside or inside the church? But yesterday, the leaders of the church gathering and, of course, putting people's lives in danger.
Indeed, it is for that reason that South African National Christian Forum is here. We are not only here to blame the government, we are also here to advise various leaderships of the churches. Because if you feel that government is unfair, government regulation is irrational, you don't have to break the law. After breaking the law, you say, I break the law because it is irrational. There is a formula. We have to approach the court of law. The court of law can balance and weigh the matter, and if it favors us and declare the regulation irrational, that is when we will be having our relief, and then we can exercise our rights. You don't exercise your right by breaking the law first.
So am I putting it correctly if I say that you are thinking of taking the government to court if they don't change the decision once this period is done? Because remember, this period will conclude on the 15th, so we're expecting the president to speak this week. If he doesn't reopen the churches, will you consider taking the government to court?
Definitely. Definitely. We are going to take the government to court on an urgent basis, and our main factor will be the inconsistency of the government when making the pronouncement and the lack of consultation. They are saying this government of Ramaphosa, it's a consultative government. But when it comes to church, the church is left behind. The church is not taken into recognition. We are also looking at that to say, look, when there is the lockdown, the government will sometimes give a supporting structure to various sectors, the artists and the others. What about the pastors who are living from their service? Because they are serving the ministry, they are serving the body of Christ, and that is where their food also comes from.
Well, thank you very much, Bishop Mashashane, speaking to us there. Jeremy, as you heard, they will consider taking government to court if this week, when the president speaks, he doesn't allow them to operate again. All
right, live in Sebokeng, Masego Rahlaga, thank you very much indeed. To the state capture.